it possible to start a business with $100? It seems like $100 nowadays is barely enough to buy groceries. Nowadays, with the possibility of the internet and social media, it is absolutely possible. In this video, I'm going to talk about the best business for starting for beginners that only costs under $100 and the exact steps that you need to take to turn this into a reality. If you're new here, my name is Alice and I'm a chartered professional accountant that's built up her own 6-figure coaching business in the past 2 years. And on my channel, we discuss personal finance, business, and digital marketing. So if you like these sorts of topics, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up and let's get right into the video. Now, let me be very upfront and clear. Starting a business with $100 is very different than only having $100 to ever spend on a business. If you only have $100 and that's all the money you have available to spend on a business total, then I'll be honest, you're probably not in a financial position yet to start a business. Again, like $100 is barely enough to buy groceries these days. So if you only have $100, I would recommend saving enough money from your job until you have more money to take on risk. However, that doesn't mean that you can't get started with $100. Start low risk and grow at a comfortable pace until you're ready to spend more and take on more. You actually can get quite a bit out of $100 depending on how clever you are and how hard you're willing to work. The reason why I'm making this video today is because the first online business that I ever started, I spent well over 5 figures of my own money on inventory and advertising, which ended up being a pretty expensive lesson to learn. And I wish I knew this in hindsight. Your first business probably isn't going to be your last business. And with so many types of businesses and business models out there and ways of making money, for beginners, I really suggest starting small until you gain more skills to take on more risk. And I hope by watching this video, it prevents anyone from making very expensive mistakes the way that I had to. Now let's talk about the best type of business to start with $100. The purpose of a business is to create and add value to society. Remember this first and foremost. Because if you create a business to chase money, it's very ironic because what you end up chasing ends up going away. It isn't really until, for myself, I had that fundamental shift in going from chasing to giving that you end up attracting money in return, especially if you sell services. It's important to give value up front so that your potential customers and clients trust you so that they will buy services from you. When I worked in management consulting, we used to have a phrase or saying that from a business development perspective, it usually takes 3 meetings for someone to buy consulting services from you. Now, the same concept goes for selling services online. It usually takes a couple of touch points before somebody is ready to buy from you. Now, 2 types of businesses that have high margins are service-based businesses and software businesses. Now, with $100, you're not going to be able to start a software business. You typically need funding and a lot of money to be able to start and grow a software business. Service-based businesses, on the other hand, are great for beginners and they have high margins. They typically have lower startup costs than other businesses, especially if you're using the internet rather than any sort of physical storefront. And they stand the test of time, especially in a world of globalization where more and more physical products are being produced offshore. For example, somebody who owns a beauty salon, somebody who owns a pest control company, someone who owns an accounting firm. These are services that society will always need. People will always need to cut their hair. They will always need an accountant. They will always need pest control. These service-based businesses usually tend to be cash flow positive very quickly. Let's compare a service-based business to CPG, consumer packaged goods. CPG businesses tend to have very low margins, generally speaking, a ton of overhead, and they require a lot of manpower to grow, and it takes many years, if ever, to become profitable. Now, on the internet, there are a couple different types of services that you can sell. If you already have a professional background, the lowest friction and the easiest thing for you to start is to sell professional services and sell what you already know. So this literally means selling accounting services if you're an accountant, selling consultations if you're a doctor, selling money management or investing advice if you are a financial advisor. Alternatively to professional services, you can sell coaching services. You can sell coaching services on something you're an expert on or something you're passionate about and you genuinely have a desire to help other people. There are a lot of different coaching niches and a lot of different types of services that you can sell. For example, if you went to an Ivy League college, you can coach and help other high school students with their admissions, review their essays, help them with their SAT, help them with their homework. By the way, guys, I put together an outstanding resource on how to build a six-figure coaching business, which has everything I'm talking about summarized and more. So make sure you check out the links down in the description below if you're interested in more information. And I'm also going to leave a wonderful resource to a YouTube cheat sheet down in the description box below. In terms of the structure of your company, I highly recommend setting up a sole proprietor bank account, which should be free or very low cost. In the US, there are 23 million sole proprietorships, and it's the most popular form of business entity. You can always change legal structures as you grow. I don't think that it's something to really worry about until you actually start making money. I see this happen with a lot of newer entrepreneurs, is that they let the structure, the legal structure, or just the setup stop them from moving things forward, when really it's just one step. There are a lot of things that you can do in the meantime, even if this isn't set up. I'm going to explain each of the 4 steps first and then talk about the tech that's going to add up to about $100. The first step is to pick your niche. And this can be anything. Think about your best strengths, where your natural talents lie. Strengths and talents usually based on your own experience and your own life story. Everyone has different strengths. You can also go based on where there is demand. Very important that we are not trying to go create demand. To be honest, if no one else is doing that thing, then I would be highly skeptical of it. You want there to be at least some proof of concept that the demand already exists. In Russell Brunson's Expert Secrets, he talks about health, wealth, and relationships, and how these are the 3 primary categories for demand. And within each of these markets, there are a ton of subcategories. So step 1 is to pick a niche with some sort of problem that can be solved. Sometimes just because you want to help someone do something doesn't necessarily mean that there's an actual problem to be solved. Doing market research is always the best when it comes to finding problems to solve. Now, if you want to start a business with $100, then I recommend using social media content with Instagram. There are a couple of reasons for this. With Instagram, you can use your phone and you can usually get results much faster in terms of creating and posting content because you're mostly using short form content and you generally don't have to buy much equipment. You can literally film just with your phone by a window. Now, the Instagram algorithm is driven by engagement, meaning that Instagram wants you to be on their app all the time, basically. And you want to be using Instagram as a funnel, starting with Reels, because that's where most of your traffic is going to come from. And then you can also do carousel posts, single posts, and you'll want to commit to being active on stories every single day. And the goal of this is that you want to drive people onto your email list or your landing page or into your community. Now, the third step is tech. Now, a lot of people think when you start a business, you have to go get a fancy website done for a couple $1,000s, and I really don't think that's necessary in the beginning stages. What you really need first and foremost is an email list, and you need some landing pages. You basically just need somewhere to drive traffic. Now, this doesn't need to be anything fancy. Don't overthink it. Don't think that you have to spend $2,000 to get things going. I know that as a beginner myself back then, I used to overthink these things a lot. I thought I needed a $2,000 website. I thought I needed all these things. But really, if you're running a service-based business, then what you need to do is just put yourself out there and have a way of people finding you. And that's really what the goal of traffic in tech is. And another thing you're gonna want is a booking software. Basically so that prospects can book with you when they are ready to talk and engage. Now, the last step here are deliverables. Remember, the purpose of a business, like I mentioned earlier, is to create value for society, to solve some sort of problem. Really, a service-based business is not that different than working a job when you offer your employer something and your employer pays you in return for some sort of output. For a service-based business, it's basically the same concept in theory, except that you are working for yourself and your own clients, and you need to be able to have some sort of deliverable for them. So if you're an accountant, then your deliverable would be tax returns, bookkeeping. If you're a coach, then it would be some sort of coaching curriculum. If you're helping students get into Ivy League school, then maybe it's reviewing their essays or marking their mock exams. But the goal of step 4 is just to identify what it is you're actually going to deliver to your client. Now, for many people, they will already be really good at what they do here. For some people, it might take some time for them to get good at the deliverable aspect. Now, let's talk about the actual tech and how much this will all cost you. Like I mentioned, we have Instagram. Instagram is free. Facebook for your community, which is also free. Google Meet to conduct your meetings. You're going to need a domain. which usually costs around $10 a year. Don't need to buy a fancy domain, don't need to go bidding for a domain, just like one of the ones that are basically free or very, very cheap. You're going to need an email address, which for a Google Workspace is about $8. You're going to need a booking software such as Calendly, which is $12 a month for the pro version. You're gonna get an email provider. So this is like ConvertKit, MailChimp. Now MailChimp is free and most email providers will usually have a free plan. But if you wanna get on the paid version, then $25 a month is usually more than enough for an email provider. And then lastly, you want a landing page software. There are a lot of different landing page softwares out there. I personally use Lead Pages, which I like, costs about 50 bucks a month, but there are some even cheaper ones nowadays that cost anywhere from $15 to $20 a month. So really the upfront cost of all of this, assuming that you do buy the most expensive landing page software, is about $105. And that is how you can start a business with $100. And this is actually what I did when I started coaching. I only spent $100 to get started with until I had clients, and then I was able to upgrade my tech and my infrastructure as I went on. If you guys enjoyed this video today, you're definitely gonna enjoy another video of mine, which is the skills that you need to hit your first 10K months using social media. So make sure you check out that video up top here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Until next time.